Carmichael Dave, Jason Ross.
It's that time.
It is that time. I believe. Yep. Oh, yeah.
San Francisco!
He has nearly 40 years of broadcasting in Northern California. The voice of the San Francisco 49ers, Greg Papa. Sponsored by Sunpoint Public Adjusters, the gold standard of the public adjusting industry.
Oh, yeah, the gold standard, Sunpoint and Greg Papa. Good morning, Mr. Papa.
Good morning, David. Good morning, Jason.
Good morning.
Just heading to Levi's and going to be taking off and going on a road trip to Minneapolis where we were last year. And that was a strange game. Wound up losing that game, and Trent didn't play and Debo didn't play. Christian played, but he wasn't healthy, and wound up being weird, and Kirk Cousins played great, and now they got slinging Sammy Darnold as their quarterback. You know how much I love him and his ability, so it's going to be kind of hard to watch him play against the Niners, but I think the Niners, their pass rush and their coverage will be able to mitigate his immense talent. But this is going to be a challenge. That dome is so loud, and when you play a day game, last year you played there on Monday Night Football, they have the glass panels up in the one corner. It's the downtown Minneapolis, beautiful stadium. I think it's, but this one's maybe the second best right there with Dallas out in Arlington. But you get some weird shadows. So this stadium is a complete and utter assault on all your senses. When you get out of there, you gotta have at least 4 Advils when the game's over.
Greg, do you remember the Sleepy Floyd game you called for the Golden State Warriors where you had 51 against the Lakers?
Are you kidding me? Sleepy Floyd is Superman, May the 10th of 1987, Mother's Day? Yeah, I vaguely remember that game.
Okay, so I was trying to time this right because you were the voice of the Golden State Warriors the last time the 49ers won in Minnesota, 1992. Wow. That's how long it's been.
It was Mitch Richmond a Warrior or a Sacramento King?
92, he was a King, wasn't he?
Yeah, they traded him opening night when they drafted Billy Owens.
Yeah. Nope, you're right. Yep. Wow.
Yeah, it's been a while. That was the old Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome.
That's right.
And I think, Steve Young was the quarterback, obviously.
Yes.
And John Taylor.
You know who led? Hey,
yeah,
you
let's
know
see
who
if he
led?
knows this.
This is my favorite. This is my favorite stat. And Greg, if you get that, there's no way. I mean, this is insane. Do you know who led the Niners with like 135 yards rushing that day?
And I think he was a rookie, and he scored 2 touchdowns in that game. Was it Achilles?
Oh my gosh, Dave! You can't ask him anything.
I'm leaving.
I actually looked it up this week.
Well, it's still impressive. It's still impressive. My goodness.
I had to throw my headphones.
The running back was for the Minnesota Vikings in that game?
Yeah, is that the one that wasn't that Roger Craig?
Yes, Roger Craig was on the Vikings.
And you know who the quarterback of the Vikings was?
We do
We only because we looked it up,
Yeah.
but remind me because I've already forgotten.
Gannon.
Oh, it was Gannon. That's right.
Rich Gannon.
My goodness. Well,
he was like 9 for 20 for like 90 yards. Like, how'd that happen?
Greg, I'm sorry, Jason. Greg, when you go to bed, before you go to bed, do you have a can of oil near your bed that you oil your little robot parts in your brain with? Because you're not a human being. You're a cyborg. How do you know this?
Wow, you're really getting personal. You're oils. I think I'm going to move on. My brain's fine. That's not the part of my body I have to oil. It's crazy, but other parts now.
yeah.
Jeez.
Greg, how about last week? I think you knew and maybe had some intel that it looked like they might need some buddy ready to go if McCaffrey didn't go, and then ultimately he didn't go. But to get the results they did, obviously their blocking scheme was great. Mason ran beautifully. Look, you lose an all-world player like McCaffrey, but get those results. How did Shanahan and that whole crew feel about what they got when they decided to sit McCaffrey?
It's incredible, Chase. I mean, to run 38 times without McCaffrey and 28 for one back. J.P. Mason, the most he ever carried in an NFL game was 11. He had carried 28 times. He never carried 28 times at Georgia Tech. The most he ever, last time he carried that many times was Gallup in high school. 30 miles outside of Nashville. So, I mean, to me, it speaks to a couple of things, and it's the vulnerability of this defense, which is kind of the Niners defense with Robert Saleh, the way they run the wide nine defensive line. You know, historically, you can run. Maybe you're not running, outside zone a lot, but the Niners did run a lot of outside zone, wide zone, but JP's just so good at cutting it back. But it really is the Shanahan system. And it's not just Kyle and Chris Verster, the O-line coach. This is Mike Shanahan, Alex Gibbs. I remember Alex Gibbs kind of invented the zone blocking scheme in the NFL when Mike Shanahan brought him to the Raiders, and Al Davis hated it, didn't like the outside. He wanted power and, his big offensive lineman. So he felt like, you can't hold up in pass protection if you're lighter with linemen. But the Niners have big linemen that run well. So it all works well. But they were special in that game. The mission is always to run the ball 30, 35 times. But to actually do it, it's pretty amazing. When the Jets knew it, we knew it, the whole world knew it, watching on TV, that they're going to run the ball. And they just couldn't stop it. And to do it with an undrafted third-year running back, and, Elijah Mitchell was your backup before the year, and now it's Jordan Ponches Mason. Who the hell's that? And not having Christian. And honestly, Jace, with McCaffrey, I never know when he's going to play. I told you this a couple of years ago. We went into the NFC Championship game in Philadelphia. He didn't do anything that week. He hurt his calf the week before in the Dallas playoff win. He didn't finish that game. Remember, he left the game and Elijah Mitchell came in. He didn't go to walkthrough the day before at Franklin Field. You don't go to walkthrough, you're not playing. And I thought, the morning of the championship game, I was told either he's not playing or he's going to be strictly a decoy. And so I kind of wrote him off. And then he was the best Niner on the field by far. He hurdled Marcus Epps and C.J. Gardner-Johnson and one other player and scored a touchdown. And hell, when Brock got knocked out, he wound up playing quarterback for a couple plays. So I never say Christian's not going to play, because Christian is just crazy with his preparation, everything he does. The way he prepares to practice is right there with Bosa, and it's more extreme than most guys prepare to play games. So I don't know what he's going to do this week, to be honest with you. Some periods he's in, some he's not. I think it's kind of hard for him to bounce back the second day after a practice day. So maybe he could time it up where he plays, but you never know until really 90 minutes before kickoff if Christian's going to play, because he's going to give you everything mentally and physically, spiritually, emotionally, because he missed a lot of games in Carolina. He doesn't want to miss any more games when he's at the height of his power. Right now, late 20s, Christian McCaffrey's the best version of himself right now, so he doesn't want to miss games.
I'm so glad you brought up both Mike and Kyle Shanahan. It was just yesterday, Jason and I were talking about the Olandis Gary, Mike Anderson, Ruben Drones Memorial plug-and-play running backs. And no disrespect to the running backs who have to work hard and do their thing, but it just reminded me with Jordan Bell and then, Elijah Mitchell, as you mentioned, having that 1,000-yard season. There is just something about these Shanahans that it just seems they do plug and play. And, hey, look, you're a 1,000-yard guy. You're a 1,000-yard guy year after year after year.
Well, a lot of it is because of the way they coach them and insist that they play, that it's one cut and downhill, and it's 3 steps and cut. Like watch JP Mason when he hits his 3rd step, when he runs that outside zone, 1, 2, 3, boom. And then he decides, do I keep it play side? Do I cut it back? If I cut it back, I'm coming downhill. And if somebody steps into the gap that I thought was open a second ago, I got to truck them. And Aaron Jones of the Vikings does the same thing. I mean, he's like footwork. I mean, it's like dance. It's 1, 2, 3, boom. And he makes a call. And he's not a big back, but he plays big. So a lot of that is, like Elijah Mitchell got hurt a lot because you're asking guys to have one cut and then go downhill. And downhill may be a one-way street, and it's blocked, and you're going to get hurt. So a lot of it was guys got hurt in Denver, and they would just bring in a new guy. And that's why, the Niners got hurt. From Matt Breida to Raheem Mostert was a great running back here. He got hurt. And he scored 21 touchdowns last year in Miami. Jeff Wilson Jr., and they get hurt. So I don't want to say they're disposable, but you kind of go that way. But one exception, and Terrell Davis turned into a Hall of Fame player. So that's a different deal. But he was a 6th-round pick. The one time Denver went and got a special player is when they traded the cornerback Champ Bailey to Washington to go get. And remember he had all those aliases and nicknames. And he was Dewich Big for a while. I love that. It was Clinton Portis.
Yep. And
that guy was special. He was a 1st-round pick and had big-time ability. And that's kind of when they traded for McCaffrey. I thought, I was mainly looking at Saquon Barkley then because his deal was up, and I thought maybe the Giants were going to let him go. What if Kyle ever got a guy like Saquon Barkley? How good would this running game be? And then they wound up getting McCaffrey. But when you have, Reuben Drones, Olandis Gary, Mike Anderson, Matt Breida, Jeff Wilson Jr., you're good. But you go get Terrell Davis or, turn Terrell Davis into a star, you win the Super Bowl. You go get Christian McCaffrey and put him in the Shanahan system, you're going to Super Bowls or championship games. And, the one year you lost in the championship game, the quarterback got his arm ripped off and didn't get a chance to play. So there is a system there going back to Alex Gibbs and Mike Shanahan. Kyle's taken it to a whole new level with the angles and the pre-snap movement and the way he uses Debo as a running back. We haven't even talked about that. I mean, that's insane what he gets out of Debo. So, but these other guys are, you can just kind of rotate them and they get hurt. When you get a special guy like Clinton Portis, Terrell Davis, Christian McCaffrey, now you're talking about not just winning playoff games, you're winning Super Bowls.
Greg, on the other side, I know you were had to be pleased with what they did defensively against Aaron Rodgers. The knowledge that Darnold has of that defense, any factor in that at all for him this week?
Yeah, totally. I think the one thing I'm looking at is just his ability to run the scout team. And I think that's how many quarterbacks have we had? There was a backup quarterback here and then played against the Niners as a starting quarterback somewhere else. I mean, C.J. Beathard maybe a little bit. Did Nick Mullins ever play against the Niners? I'm trying to think.
I don't think so. Yeah.
I feel like Brian Hoyer.
And Darnold played not only against the Niners. Brock was out a lot, and he played. He ran, in training camp, 1s versus 1s a lot. Brock had days off a lot, at that time. So it was a whole different deal. And then when we, began the season, Sam ran the scout team, so he was going against Fred Warner. So he's probably taken more snaps of any quarterback here. Trey Lance did. Trey struggled against the scout team. That's where you kind of knew that this is hard. These guys are good, and he's really struggling. Sam had his ups and downs, but he fought them, and he has such great arm talent. So I definitely am concerned about Sam Darnold, and he just did it last year, practiced, all week long. His job was to be the backup quarterback and run the scout team against Fred Warner, Charvarius Ward, Diamador Lenore, Nick Bosa, all those guys. So he's got intel that few quarterbacks who have started against the Niners have ever had, and under competing against the Kyle Shanahan team, and he's got it the freshest because he just did it last year.
Juicy Lucy's, the Lake Minnetonka.
That's without a doubt. I got him last year, Dave. I went Friday night when we first got in, and it was closed.
Yeah.
But I was able to talk Matt. I think it's Matt's is the name of the bar.
Yeah.
He got me in after hours. There were a bunch of Niner fans in there. They are so they're a traditional hamburger. They're not that big. They're kind of smallish, but they cook the cheese inside, and they're like a molten lava, where you take a bite and the cheese explodes. So I'm definitely going to hit that either tonight or maybe after a walkthrough. But you know where I've never been? All the years I've gone to Minnesota, and I went to his bar, with Jimmy Jam and all those guys, and Janet Jackson would always go to Prince's Bar, Slam Slam. But I don't think that's open anymore. I think it's closed. But I've never been to Paisley Park.
Oh.
That's probably a hard ticket to get to, but I think I'm going to try to check out Paisley Park.
I can send you a Kings jersey with it's purple. If maybe help get you in. You can blend in.
Purple rain. Wow. Yeah, you think that would work?
No, I have no pull there. But either way, enjoy it.
Yes.
Enjoy beautiful. Hey, Minneapolis, St. Paul is actually kind of nice this time of year. You can avoid the humidity. And
It'll be nice. We're going to be in the dome, so it's kind of weird being in the dome.
That's exactly right. Hopefully we can talk next week, having done something that has not been done since before the iPhone and all these social medias. I was still in high school. 1992, the great Amp Lee out of Florida State University led the 49ers to a victory in Minnesota. Let's do it again, Greg.
Wow, we're going way back. Yeah, let's. We're going to party like it's 1992.
That's right.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Greg.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Tonight we're gonna party like it's 1992.